On May 15th, Penn State named Tony Beck the 7th head coach in the history of the men's gymnastics program. He replaces Randy Jepson, the man who recruited him, coached him, and mentored him for the better part of 2 decades. Beck grew up in Northampton, Pennsylvania, just up the road from where I'm sitting right now. I know that because I coached him his junior and senior years of high school before he ever put on a Penn State uniform. He inherits Penn State, a team rich with history and 12 national team titles, tied with Oklahoma for the most in NCAA history. He inherits the program that produced Stephen Nedoroscik and Sam Zakutny, its 21st and 22nd Olympians. He inherits a team that captured its first ever regular season Big Ten title in 2025 and posted its best NCAA finish in nearly a decade. This is Tony Beck's first long-form sit-down since taking the job, and a very long time coming with Tony being on GymnasticsVille today. I am Mubarak Simmons alongside my brother Taki and Kerry Adderley, and we are here today with Tony Beck, the new head coach of Penn State. Let's get into it. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to be back with the boys.
That's right.
I like that intro. That was nice, bro.
Look at
It's like you wrote that down or something.
Oh, you got one thing wrong, though. I was with you my senior year, and I took a gap year. So that's what it was. I wasn't with you senior, and gap year.
Gap year.
Well, it gap year. That's what it was. I knew it was 2 years.
Yeah.
I knew it was 2 years. I figure it was your best 2 years before you went to Penn State. I got an opportunity to coach you. Man, I remember, and I'm going off script once again, but I do remember the first time I met you. You remind me a lot of, believe it or not, Taki, man. You were just so into gymnastics.
I know.
You had videos. You actually knew the code of points better than me. You were teaching me stuff, man. I was like, man, Tony, you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Check out page 67, 3B.56 section -5. It's like, all right, Tony, I believe you. We got it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, what's funny is, and people still make fun of me for it. I carried a DVD player around, and I had all the different videos of all the different Olympics and NCAA championships, and I was a steward of gymnastics. I wanted to study. I wanted to compete at the highest level, right? So for me, I was a gymnastics junkie. I like to say
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's why we connected immediately, because we could talk gymnastics all day from
all day, every day,
all the time. Just 96 Olympics, 2000 Olympics. We could just keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, Tony, I want to get right to it, man. On May 15th, or in that area, right, you get the call, you get the offer to be the 7th head coach for Penn State. What the heck was going through your mind?
Dreams coming true, right? Like, my wife actually was standing right next to me when I got the call. She's like, put on speakerphone. So I like hurried up and put on speakerphone, and I'm not a super emotional person, but to me, like, that was tears in my eyes, right? Because that's something I've been working for a long time. Dreams coming true, and just, she came over, gave me a big hug. Randy actually came over that night and was awesome and gave me a huge hug and said how proud he was of me. And,
awesome.
My grandfather, who was a big advocate of my gymnastics career, made me who I am today, and the love of the sport. I really wish he was here for me to tell him, and I know he's looking down on me, but, to call him and tell him, because I got to call him and tell him when I got the assistant coach job before he passed. And, I did get to tell my grandmother recently, before she just passed, that I got the head coach job. So I at least got to tell both of them, about my dreams and that they're coming true.
Whew, it gives me chills, man. Oh my goodness, Tony, so proud of you. Like I said, we've all been here for your journey. So, for you to get to this point is just amazing, because we'll get into it. You've been Mr. Penn State for as long as I've known you. You know what I mean? I remember when I came into the gym, when I finished at Oklahoma, because before that, I didn't really, knew you a little bit, seeing you at combines and stuff like that, and, seeing you, but didn't actually train with you because I tried to make my brief comeback and then coach a little bit. So working with you, and then you just talked about Penn State the entire time. That was the only school you ever talked about. So, to see this journey and see you get this head coach position was I felt like, we all got it. You know what I mean? We all got it with you. So congratulations.
Funny story for me too. Like before I knew you guys, like big school I want to go to was Ohio State. And it was because Blaine Wilson, twins, right?
Like say Ohio State back in the day.
Those were the idols, right? Those were the guys that I looked up to. And then I took my trip to Penn State, and it was just home. Like it was a place that I just knew it's where I needed to be. I knew it was a place that was going to grow me to the man I wanted to be, the person I wanted to be, and the gymnast I wanted to be. I just fit with the guys, and it just it happened. Things happened the way they're supposed to happen, and that was what happened for me. And never looked back. Like you said, once I came to Penn State, it was like it's game over. This is where I'm going. This is home. This is where we're gonna do some special things.
Yeah, I remember because I do remember that because I remember Ohio State was on the table at a certain point in time. You know what I mean? Especially when you were younger. So, didn't want you to not leave that out there, Taki, because Ohio State was on the table.
He was a huge play guy. Okay. But the thing is, when I got there, he had already taken the trip. That's the thing, because I got there when I finished. Right. You were training with him before I got done at Oklahoma. So that's why you had went through that. But when I got down to Allentown, he had already done that. And that was just, he was going full steam ahead at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Just for me, it's really incredible, Tony, just knowing everything that you've kind of had to endure, and from competing to coaching and, you being in this spot, man, it's just truly amazing. And just, again, just like what everybody else is saying, so proud of you, and just excited to see how everything's going to turn out, here in the, in the near future. So, even though, Ohio State was on the back burner, my Buckeyes are always, we're always kind of lingering in that Big Ten trying to find a space. But I don't know, man, we might be in trouble here these next couple of years. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do. But you guys have seemed to be having some pretty good talent over at Penn State. So I'm really excited to see how both teams kind of, go at each other and compete throughout the season, and see how it all fares in the Big Ten here this year.
Yeah, Big Ten's always a super competitive conference. Every team's good, and that's what makes it exciting. So now I'm super excited. We have a really strong team. If we do the right stuff at the right time, right, anything can happen.
So let's take it back, Tony. Let's take it back to 2008 when you won the Pennsylvania Most Outstanding Senior Award. This was, I believe, your gap year?
No, that was my senior year.
Okay, so this was your senior year. Yep. This is a culmination of everything you've been through. Before I was there coaching you, you had a lot of great coaches leading up to that point, a lot of support from your family and the community. Can you just talk about what it was like at that point winning that award, but how your career led up to that moment? Because for me to experience that was great. I feel like that was a really great year for you. But just talk about your junior career in Pennsylvania,
Yeah. I started at Gymnastics when it was, that was the top, that was the Cypress, at the time. So I was around a really good program with a lot of really good guys. That program shut down. I went to Parkettes for a year. Left Parkettes after LVSA opened up, went to LVSA, had some really good coaches. I had Bert for a lot of years. I had Mr. Becker, got to train with Jake Becker, who competed with Taki. They were the same time. So I had a lot of really good influential people around me, right? And then as those guys graduated, it was just kind of me. I had a couple other teammates who weren't talented, but they loved gymnastics. And, a lot of what I did was through my own drive, through the coaches, their drive. So leading into 2008, going into my senior year, I made the regional team, never really did that before. I'm starting to my body's changing. I'm getting a little bit bigger, a little stronger. Things are now coming together. So 2008, we kind of hit the ground running, started, I remember the first meet of my 2008. It was 2007 going into 2008. It was December. We were hosting the first meet of the season was at LVSA. And
Okay. Was I there for this?
You were there for this.
Oh boy,
and
I was competing too.
You were competing too, and
I remember you carried for sure. I remember that exhibition.
No, you were with me, and you'll remember why. I'm on high bar. I'm on high bar,
okay.
And I mount up Yamawaki, endo up. I do a pirouette, competing my first ever Kovacs, catch my Kovacs. And I'm going through the routine, endo full to L, eagle giant, eagle endo. We pirouette out. I'm like, all right, dismount time.
I remember now.
And as you told me, you're like, oh, you're feeling like Superman because I decided to do a lay full out instead of a double layout that we've been training the whole time. And I want to lay full out straight to my face. And you come over to me and you're like, bro, what are you doing? You think you're Superman or something? Then you didn't talk to me for like a week after that. You were so mad at me.
That was such a good routine, Tony. I mean, that was such a good routine, bro.
But so that happened, and then throughout the season, things are going really well. I'm winning a lot of all arounds, and things are coming together. We get to the state meet, and I had a pretty good meet, but I got beat. I finished second in the all around at states, and normally the person who wins the all around that's a senior, whoever has the highest all around was the wins the senior award. Yep. And the judges actually picked me because of the season I had and all the things I did. I actually ended up winning that award over the first place all arounder, which I know the kid who won, his coach was livid that I won that, but I feel like I earned it through the season, and it was a pretty remarkable thing. And then ended up finishing second in the region behind Tim Pittman in the all-around. I think I had the third highest all-around score in the country at that time. And then went to nationals and had a little bit of a rough go. I think I put a little bit too much pressure on myself, but went out and still competed and had a good time. And then ended up staying an extra year with you, developing, and then going to Penn State. So kind of how that story went. But never forget that first meet. I will never forget that look on your face when I did that, and you're just like, dude.
Yeah, I know. But I do want to follow up on that, Tony. I do want to follow up on that, Tony, because I didn't realize that, because I think when I came back to coach you that year, that was my first time back in Penn State from being away. Like I said, Disney, Oklahoma, came back. But I didn't realize that outstanding senior award went to the house all-arounder. But the narrative I had, maybe some of these conversations that you weren't privy to because you were a gymnast and I was a coach, was that everyone in the state just admired your career because of how hard you worked up to that point. So I'm not sure if it was one of those words where like it was just that season. I just think Pennsylvania, the coaches and the judges in the area just really followed your journey, man. And you worked so hard. And, I think if I can be frank, I wasn't there years past, but the talent was always there. I just think the consistency wasn't there. So I think that year, like you said it, everything came together for you. And so I think that could have been also part of you winning that award, even if you did not win that all around. It was just that they just followed your journey, man. They loved your journey and how hard you worked.
Yeah, I agree. And, being there competing, because Mo, it was an exhibition for me, but it was an actual competition. I was actually wearing competition gear and did all sixes. I had to qualify to USA Championships that same year.
That's right. You were training for that. Yep. That's right.
I was training for the championship. So being, with Tony being a training, the best training partner I could have at that time, being consistent, me going through the things I was going through, trying to figure out, where I belong in the whole USA Gymnastics kind of space. And it was a great experience, and still, even through that, having him as a training partner, I qualified to USA. So that was kind of a success in that aspect, so it was really great.
That's right. That's right. So let's move on to Penn State, man. You get to Penn State, right? What was that like? You got there, you're living your dream, you're in state college, man. Like, what was that like? Talk us through the first few years, as a freshman, sophomore, and then kind of leading up to your junior, senior years. How'd that go for you?
Yeah. So freshman year, I came in the summer. It was me and Scott Rosenthal was the only two guys that came in the summer, and it was awesome to be around those guys. We had a good group of guys here, all training for U.S. championships. So it was something that I could continue to strive for. Freshman year was pretty solid. I competed, I think, 4 to 5 events throughout that season. Lowest start on parallel bars at Big Ten championships. Somehow qualified to the final with the lowest start, and then finished 4th in the Big Ten on parallel bars. In the final, just missed medaling by not that far. But again, amazing experience. And we were a very underdog team. We had about 10 freshmen when I came in, which is enormous. That's, half our team. So, we were underdogs, but we were 3rd in the Big Ten. And then I think just missed out making the NCAA finals. That next year, sophomore year, I ended up tweaking my wrist. And, so first meet of the season, we had Army at home, competed, did well, went to West Point Open, tweaked my wrist. And then I was supposed to go to Winter Cup that year, qualified for Winter Cup, couldn't go, ended up coming back. The first meet I could come back and compete at would have been Big Ten championships. And I was cooking routines on horse. I was cooking routines on P-bars and high bar. I didn't have enough reps. And Randy's just like, hey, this one might have been my junior. I can't remember. But anyways, he's like, hey, we just don't have enough numbers on you right now that I feel comfortable putting you in. Right. And I was mad, I'm teens and showing that I'm ready. As a coach now, I understand a little bit. Right. There's that number factor. We go to Big Tens and we're in first place going into the last event, pommel horse.
That's your event.
First guy hits, last 4 guys fall. Then we went from first to, I think it was like 4th or 5th.
I think I remember that.
2 weeks later, we're going to NCAA championships at Ohio State, and I'm in the lineup.
Nice.
And first day I'm swinging big, no nerves, do a flop sequence. My hand slips off the horse and, I missed day 1. We qualify, get through. It's all good. And I'm like, am I going to be in the lineup? I made one mistake in the last 4 weeks, and they put me in the lineup the second day, bowing my pommel horse set and qualified to finals. And that was one of the last times we did our event finals. Ended, I think, in like 2013 or 2014, but qualified to pommel horse event finals and just missed a spot by like 2/10 of being All-American on pommel horse. But junior year was great, and then senior year we hosted NCAAs at home. It was with that gap year, that situation, everything happens for a reason. I do believe that, and I got to now have NCAAs my senior year at home in front of a Penn State crowd.
That's great.
And we were hungry. I mean, that team, I don't know of a team more prepared than that team was, but we were prepared by January 1, right? Like we were peaking at January 1 because we were so hungry to win. So by the time we got to the end of the season, our bodies were just fried. As you guys know, it's right? Like, how it goes. And, unfortunately, I think for the first week, we were beating everyone by 20 points. 20 points. We won 447, which was the highest team score in history until I think Oklahoma beat it about 5 years later.
Wow.
But we held that record for a long time. And then by the end of the season, we were tired and guys made some mistakes and, things happen. We were all disappointed. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't have done anything different. I love my experience with the guys. As you guys know, it's a brotherhood, right? Like it's about doing things for the guys around you. When the guys do when you focus on the guys around you and they're all focusing on you, at the end of the day, everyone gets what they want, right? It's a team effort. It's a family. And that's kind of my Penn State journey. It was awesome. I would do it all over again. I really do love my time here. And a lot of the reason why I do what I do coaching wise is because of what was instilled to me as an athlete. Randy is my mentor. He is a person that I do really appreciate, and I would not be in the position I am if it wasn't for him. He took a lot of chances on me. He took a chance on me as an athlete. I told him I wanted to coach. He took, a chance on me as a volunteer coach to then assistant coach to associate head coach. Now being in his role as a head coach, but super grateful for the opportunity he gave me. And hope I can make him proud and all the former coaches and alumni proud as well, because I do bleed blue and white. I'm all in. So.
All right.
No, that was great, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, talk.
Yeah, no, it's just like you said, you had such an amazing career at Penn State. And I remember watching from afar, because at that point we were down in Disney, and then to start to see you just, live out your dream, you know what I mean? Because like I didn't get a chance to speak earlier, but like Mo said, everyone watched your journey in Pennsylvania, you know what I mean? Like you are like Mr. Pennsylvania, you know what I mean? Just such a blue collar type of gymnast and work ethic and attitude. And again, you were talented, but you weren't the most talented, you know what I mean? So you had to really dig down and go deep. And then I know you just instilled all that hunger by your senior year. And like you said, you guys were hungry to win. And, had to, you were prepping, and I know your personality and how much you wanted it that senior year, especially at home. I can only imagine being on a team with you during that time and how much you really just galvanized the guys and really, wanted them to understand that opportunity of competing at home at Penn State, because I've had the opportunity to compete at one NCAAs at Penn State. And that was, the year I won NCAAs. And I just know it was that atmosphere at Penn State, that a home, when the Penn State team is good at home, that's just like, it's one of the best NCAA championship environments that exists in gymnastics. So I could only imagine how motivated you were to have that opportunity and to speak about how you guys were just peaking so early, and now it's just because of that hunger and drive you have. So that just like tells a great story, because I couldn't remember that, but now that you speak about it, I do remember how long that score stayed there forever. It was there until I think almost until I was coaching at until I was coaching at Oklahoma, essentially almost. So yeah, it was just great to relive your college journey there.
Yeah, I got a question about your college journey. Is there a certain competition, doesn't have to be NCAAs or Big Tens, is there a certain competition you felt that you had it all working? That day it could have been a dual meet, it could have been a tri meet. Is there any competition where you went out, you had it all working, you stuck everything? Or maybe you didn't stick everything, but you hit all your routines and you felt like, man, I maxed out today, and
There's two competitions that come to mind.
Nice.
The first one is West Point Open, right? Like I've competed at West Point Open for a long time. So that just was like, I felt like a home meet. And for some reason, I always had a really good meet at West Point Open. I always made the finals, even with you guys when I competed with Team Gattaca, right? You guys, like I made the final. I beat Casey Sandy on pommel horse. Casey Sandy on pommel horse as a 16-year-old, like it's like, that's where you're like, oh crap, like things are kind of coming together, which is kind of cool. So West Point Open was always one that I felt very comfortable, and I always felt like I had a really good meet. The second one I kind of mentioned earlier was Big Tens my freshman year. Super solid, and I just was sticking dismounts left and right. But funny story, and I still tell athletes I coach, because we talk about nutrition. Nutrition's always a big thing in gymnastics and making sure you're eating the right stuff. Well, we were in Ohio at Big Tens, and my hotel's right next to a Sonic. I'm not going to go to Sonic and get a supersonic double cheeseburger right before the meet. So one of the guys said to me, they go, "How you feeling?" And I go, "Feeling supersonic." Went and rocked my T-bar set and stuck it both days. And those were two meets that I felt like I was kind of in the zone and locked in. Or even the meet, even NCAAs when I made the final in Pommel Horse, I did feel really locked in and I felt good. West Point also, my grandfather judged there, and they have an award that they named after him for the vault award. So like that's just a very special meet to me. That's where I feel at home. And so
Awesome. And then I got to follow up with that question. Now that you being a coach, is there any athlete, whether from your assistant days, is there any athlete where you noticed that as well, and you saw, man, like this guy's got it working today? And then how do you manage that when you do see, now you're on the other side, how do you manage that when you see that from one of your athletes?
Yeah. I'd say a guy that I probably saw that with was two of them, Steven and Josh, and two different ways. Like Josh Karnes is a phenom when it comes to talent. Like he's just one of the most talented people I have ever worked with. And no matter how he was feeling, he raised his hand, he could just turn the switch on and get it done. Right. The other guy, Steven, and Steven was a guy who was very similar in that he worked really hard to get to where he was. But, world championships. Randy went with him to worlds, but they're going out to Kitakushu, and dude has a fever for like 2 weeks or whatever it was. Insanely long fever. And he couldn't come into the gym. He couldn't train for 7 or 10 or 12 or whatever days. He gets out to world championships, and the dude swinging a horse looks like he's never done pommel horse in his entire life. And then, Brett's like, is he going to be okay? And Randy's like, he's good. Like, just, he'll be okay. Ended up going and winning world championship on pommel horse that year. I wouldn't say there's any particular meets. I would say it's more mentality for me of what I see in my athletes is, are you a guy that can kind of flip the switch? And that's something I think I learned with you guys when I was training with you. I was very young and naive, and obviously hard work matters and putting the work matters, but the mentality piece is, I think, what I really learned with you guys. And then kind of going into my college career, was how to trust the process. And Mo, that's what you always told me, trust in the process. That's a big piece of this, right? So if you trust in the process and you have your ebbs and flows of season, and when things are easy, when things are tough, can't get emotional about it, can't overthink it. It's okay to get emotional, right? It's okay to get upset. I feel like that is an okay thing, but to a certain extent, you got to kind of let those emotions just say, everything's going to be okay. I'm going to believe in what I'm doing. Trust the process and just continue to push on. And I feel like, that Steven's story is what that means, right? You put the work in, and the work is a byproduct of what that final routine is going to be when you compete. So to me, it's all about the process, is believing in yourself, believing and trusting in that process that your coach is giving to you, and just letting it rip, right? I went to Puerto Rico. We competed against Puerto Rico. I didn't hit a skill the entire week. I think I went out to Winter Cup with, I was with Taki. We went out to Winter Cup, and I competed my first Winter Cup with him, and I couldn't hit a horse routine. I couldn't hit a horse skill the whole week. Raised my hand and just learn how to flip the switch, and you just go through the motion, right? And you just do your routine, and I hit a banger,
Yeah.
The gymnastics journey for me as a coach and an athlete, and kind of to answer your question, Carrie, I think it comes down to the process, the belief in that process, and just trusting in yourself that, you can do it. And I think that's important.
So, Tony, let's talk about, as you mentioned, Carrie asked you a few questions as the coach, but, it seemed like the transition for you was pretty smooth. Most athletes, when they're as competitive and go to such a high level, have some issues with that transition of figuring out what to do next in their life once they're done a sport that they spent 10, 15, 20 years doing. It seemed like you picked right up and knew where you were. You went into the coaching. You maybe talk about how you started that boys program as Century lead, and then the crazy thing is about you is that you coach the juniors and you coach the college athletes, I think, at the same time, right? So can you just kind of talk about that a little bit, that transition from when you were done at Penn State and then the volunteer aspect and then coaching on the club angle as well?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the transition wasn't hard because I stayed in the sport, right? I didn't have a end of my career, right? My career ended, but now I'm starting a new career in the same, in the same sport where a lot of guys leave this sport. Penn State, we have a lot of engineering and business, and they're leaving this sport of what they know is what they've known for the last 15, 20 years of their lives. And it's scary, right? Because it's what's next, right? For me, it wasn't that way. I got the opportunity. My at the time girlfriend was born and raised in State College. Her whole family was here. So as I was going through my senior year, I was doing an internship with Center Elite Gymnastics. I was a recreation park tourism management major. Goal was one of two things: either become a coach at the college level or open up my own gym. And I wanted to kind of get the experience of what it would be like to open up my own gym. So I sat down with Tracy, the owner of Center Elite, kind of gave her my background, said, hey, I know Carlos has been working with, 4 or 5 boys on the developmental team. Would love to start a program for you. Looking to get engaged here right after school's over. In conjunction with also the coaching of the club, I also want to coach for Penn State, be a volunteer coach, and maybe work my way up or get an opportunity if it arises. She said, great. She gave me a full-time salary. I started with 5 boys and coached the girls. And so we had an amazing first year. We had some really talented boys. We're in State College, a small little town in State College or in Pennsylvania, 3rd largest city in Pennsylvania on a football weekend. But when it's, not a football weekend, we're a small town, we're a small college town. So started with 5 boys. Going into year 2, I think we were at 10. Going to year 3, about 15, 20. By year 5, I was at 25, 30 boys, which is one of the biggest programs in the state of Pennsylvania. And we were contending for state titles. We got kids to regionals, kids to nationals, kids that, medaled at JO Nationals. Our gym was tiny. Mo, you were there. We had this little section. I had rings hanging from the ceiling.
Yep.
And that was in between a parallel bar set that I had to offset so they didn't hit the ring. And then I had a small pommel horse in the back side of the gym. That's what we had to train with. I had a vault table that we Velcroed down onto the ground for them to do vaults. I had kids competing 2.5s on surface, training on that vault. Right. So, it comes down to coaching. As we talked earlier, I was a gymnastics junkie. I watched a lot of videos, watched a lot of techniques. So I think that piece of my knowledge in gymnastics obviously helps. I think it helps development of guys, but it's also my belief in those athletes is what continued to help them grow. I look at myself as a sponge. I look at those athletes as sponges and kind of working off each other and absorbing knowledge and teaching knowledge. And I'm learning as I'm going with them. And I really do enjoy working with the club. I actually still at this moment now as a head coach, I still work with the club because I enjoy, the gymnastics side of the NCAA for these guys at Penn State is, for the love of the sport, but we also have big dreams and aspirations to be national champions, Big Ten champions, national champions, USA team, national team, world team, Olympic team, right? Like those are the big things that we're looking at, which is my dream, my vision. I also do like the kids that want to learn around a back handspring because they love to do gymnastics. They love to flip. They may not be the most talented gymnast, but I can work with and get a drive working with someone who's not talented but wants to learn versus a kid who's talented and just kind of goes through the motions, right? So Really love my time at Center Elite. Still there, still, working with those athletes. Was a volunteer coach for 2 seasons, worked my way up to assistant coach after Slava was done. And then got promoted, I think, in 2020 or 2021 to associate head coach. So just kind of working my way up through the channels. And like I said earlier, dreams coming true. Head coach, and ready to kind of show what knowledge I've been given from all these other great coaches I've been around. The things I learned from you guys, a lot of the pre-string stuff we do, I took from you, right? Like, I'm a person of, I don't pretend to know it all. I don't know it all. I am, a student of gymnastics, and I don't care if you're a first-year coach or you're a 30-year coach. If you're saying something, I want to sit there. I want to listen. I want to understand why you're saying it that way. I may not fully agree with that technique or what you're doing entirely, but I'm going to take a little snippet of something and incorporate with what I'm doing to continue to try to maximize and optimize techniques and how to grow these athletes. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, Tony. And this next question is for our young listeners that are listening, that are aspiring to get where you got, right? To get to a university, compete in college, or maybe even get to a college and compete in club. What advice do you have for them? What type of words that you can share with them on this journey that they're aspiring to be trying to get to college?
Don't ever let someone put a ceiling on what you can accomplish. For me, I think there's a lot of people who believed in me and believed in my journey. Even some college coaches who kind of wrote me off at the beginning because I wasn't the most talented. I was still on the come up, and put your nose to the grind and get going, right? Like, you got to work, right? Like, if you're not going to be the most talented, you got to put the work in. And even the guys who are talented, they obviously put the work in, but I just got to work harder. I got to work smarter, harder than what they are doing I'm going to catch you, right? My mentality as a kid was always, you're beating me, I'm coming for you. I'm going to catch you. Just give me time. Be patient. But I would say, don't ever let someone put a ceiling on what you can accomplish. Have that vision in your mind and go for it, I think is super important. That's what I had. My dad has always told me, he goes, I never thought you'd get to the point of where you're at right now in gymnastics, right? Like, just looking at your talent and stuff as a kid, not that he didn't believe in me, he believed in me, but just, I have kids. I look at my kids and I'm like, Riley likes gymnastics. I don't know. I think she's talented, but I don't know how good she's going to be. But, I want, I want her to prove me wrong that she can be amazing, which I know she is amazing. I'm not saying that she's not amazing, but, I want her to do what I did to my dad and say, like, hey, no, like, no one's going to stop me from accomplishing my dream, I think is important.
I do have one question to ask. You are the head coach of one of the most storied programs in gymnastics in NCAA history. Did you see this for yourself? Like, this is a very special opportunity you have, and you've earned it and deserve it. But like you said, like, it's like you said, you're the 8th coach of a program that's been around for almost 100 years. So
yeah.
When
I got hired as an assistant coach, and I think Mike's the one who told me, Burns is the one who told me this after some time, he was like, Randy, why are you hiring Tony? Like, what experience does he have? Right. Like, I was a nobody. And I guess he's not wrong, but he didn't know my drive. Randy knew my drive, knew who I was. And, I think there was a reason why I moved from assistant to associate head coach is because I don't sleep. You can ask my wife. I'll be on my computer and I'm doing data analytics nonstop. So I think for me, the dream was always if I have the opportunity, and I think I was just at the right place at the right time, I think that is also a big part of life of being able to make things happen. I was in the right place at the right time. Things fell the way they were supposed to, and I just showed my worth and why I am the guy. I showed the development piece that I can develop athletes. I've shown that I do not have the knowledge of judging, but also how to do good routine construction, as a lot of other college coaches do. But I take it a step further. I'm not going to get too much into depth of this, but I coded my own analytics website for my team, and that tracks hit percentage, routine scores. I'll judge every routine in practice to kind of say, okay, where are we at? Where are we peaking? Are we, do we need to take this out? What do we need to do to maximize and optimize our performance to compete with the big dogs for a national title, right? So I think with all those areas of what I've kind of worked on over the past 10 plus years, in my eyes, it was always going to be a thing. I never doubted myself that I wouldn't be in this role. I just needed the opportunity to show. There we go. I needed to have the opportunity to show what I can do. And I think people have seen that, have bought into it. My guys have bought into it. The team's bought into it. The coaches have bought into it. And excited to show what I can bring to the table for Penn State. I have a long history of guys, Gene Whetstone, Carl Shire, Randy Jepson, all very successful. Gene won 9 national titles, the most of any other program out there as a head coach. Carl was the Olympic coach. Randy was a 3-time NCAA national champion coach. He won 5 Big Ten titles. I got big shoes to fill. But I'm up to the challenge. I'm excited. Dan Ribeiro, actually, I'm good friends with Dan, and Dan and I were talking, and he's like, when I got that, you're the next head coach of Illinois. He's like, I'm feeling good. He's like, I get home that night and I'm like, ugh. I'm a little overwhelmed, and for me, I feel that, but I also feel very confident in my abilities. I feel confident in this team. I feel confident in the support I have from the other coaches that we can do big things. We can do amazing things here. We just got to do it together as a family, and I'm excited to take that challenge on.
Ooh, all right. So that's a lot. But I want to close it off, Tony, because if y'all don't know, there's a part 2 to this, and it's going to be in the Happy Valley sometime in the preseason. Tony, GymnasticsVille is going to be there. What can we expect to see on campus, beginning of the season, during football season, new semester? What we going to see out there? What we going to see going on in that gymnastics facility out there?
You're going to see a bunch of hungry guys ready to go win a title. We've been putting in the work. The guys have been all in this summer. As I mentioned, we have a couple of guys spread out for their continental championships, things like that. But once everyone's back here together, you're going to see a bunch of dogs going after, ready for a fight. Because we did not perform to standards and expectations last year, and that happens, right? We dealt with a lot of injuries, but in my opinion, on paper, we were better last year than we were the year before. But then we got hit with a bunch of injuries, and I think they're not satisfied, right? We need more. They want more. They want to win. So you're going to come here and you're going to see a bunch of guys putting their nose to the grind and getting ready to get it done.
Nice.
That's right. We ready. I'm ready. Yo, listen, Tony, I live in Pennsylvania, clearly went to Oklahoma, but Pennsylvania is home. I want to see Penn State do some big things. I think they did an amazing job with the hire, and you're perfect for the role. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going out there, seeing your guys, meeting the guys, feeling that college energy, that new hype energy. I think some special things are going to be happening in the Happy Valley, and people are going to be pretty happy. So Unless Kerry Taki has anything else to say, Tony, we really appreciate you coming out today. Go ahead, Kerry.
Yeah, no, appreciate you, taking the time. Obviously, that you guys are already in step. Looking forward to the season. School's rounding up. I'm kind of having to deal with students and things like that as well. People coming and going and getting ready for the upcoming fall. Even though we're still in the summertime, but this is that summertime grind for those athletes to already know and envision themselves on the podium or making All-American or hitting that routine at NCAAs. It definitely starts now. And even for the guys that aren't going to USA championships, right? You might have a few guys going to USAs or competing internationally or, such a big team with all types of guys doing different things. But especially those guys who aren't traveling, who are there at school and they're training, they could be setting the tone for those guys from when they come back, when they get back into the flow and that training camp mode, and really set the tone and increase that intensity of each workout, So it's really going to be cool because I'm obviously hoping my Buckeyes do the same thing. But we know it's going to be a definitely tough season with you guys and you at the helm at the Penn State University. So it's going to be really cool to watch, man. I'm really just excited for how everything's unfolding. So super, super excited about it.
I'm looking forward to this next one. I'm trying to see some footage of what you look like at the helm, being Mr. Tony Beck. I'm excited.
Appreciate you guys. I really do appreciate all of you, and you guys have been big believers in me, and called me out and held me accountable. I mean, Kerry, you and I had our bouts, and it was awesome. I was this young little punk, and you guys are a lot of the reason I am who I am today. So I appreciate all of you, and want to thank you guys. So.
Yeah, man, you were right in the beginning of this. I honestly think Gym Crew's first video is you doing like a Diabatoff on the playground. Like, I swear, like the first YouTube video.
Right,
100%.
It might be you. So, like,
definitely Tony, for sure. Yeah.
Before we got into this, you are a part of it. So, you are family.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Tony and Kerry were the first two Gym Crew athletes. I remember we made, my mom made the compression shirt that we wore at the meets. Okay, so you guys are literally the first two Gym Crew athletes.
Compression shirts, sweatpants,
hoodies, the whole thing. Absolutely.
The old school Gym Crew shirt. I still got my original one. That's what had to be one of the best shirts ever made. It still looks good.
It is.
Yeah.
I got a beanie somewhere.
See? You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Man. Yeah, man. It's just full circle, man. It's just so just incredible. All this is just incredible. It's great.
All right, everybody. Tony, thanks for coming on. Look out for part 2 sometime in the preseason in State College. If you haven't already, visit PSU Gym, the official men's gymnastics Penn State IG account. Tony, great having you on. Kerry, Taki, everybody. We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks. We are
Penn State.
Penn State.